Hey everybody, it's me, Hey everybody, it's me, Funk McLovin. This is like kind of cheap content, and I am working on Homestuck AU, but it might be a while before the next video can come out, so I decided to make this to fuck around. You all know what this is. This is a tier list. You know, S is the best, D is the worst. Here's all the Homestuck characters. I can move them around into the tiers. You guys know what this is. Let's just get into it. Alright, starting in no particular order. Let's start with Carcat. You know, Carcat, a lot of people dislike him. A lot of people think he's boring, but I honestly think he has one of the best arcs in the whole thing, right? Like, you think of a character arc, and you might think of, like, Dave, where he starts out not wanting, you know, he uses his time powers, and then he stops using them. You might think of someone like Caliborn becoming the master, but Carcat's arc is very interesting because he becomes a whole different person. Someone who's willing to sort of take a back seat and, I don't know. I like it. What is this? A fucking Pokemon Legend? Stop that. Pokemon Legends Arceus is distracting me. Let's go another, Dave. A lot of people like Dave. You know, this might... a lot of people might say, JoJo, come the fuck on. Dave S tier, that's too obvious. But again, Dave is like... he is the quintessential Deuterat. He is the Lancer. He is perfect. I think that, like, secondary protagonists fill a very interesting niche in media, and I think Dave fits that to a T. Like I said with Carcat, he's a very cool character. I really like Dave. Like, I think he's overrated, personally, but he is very good. Let's go to John. John, that's easy, right? Come on, he's the main character. He's the one we follow throughout the story. He's one of the most relatable protagonists, I think, in just the very blunt way he reacts to things. He's the type of guy who, if you get him in a horror movie, he would be the one who's like, no, fuck that. I don't want to be there. I don't want to involve myself in that. He would not do that. Let's just finish off the beta kids. Rose. And, you know, Rose is one of my favorite characters. Rose was actually who got me into writing. I used to RP Rose a lot on MX Parp, if you're a MS Parp, if you remember that site. If you don't, that's probably also for the best. But Rose is really an inspiring character, like, very good writer. Hussy's, like, writing style as Rose, I think, really shines through. Jade, you know it's got to be Jade in S tier, right? Jade, I think, got underutilized in Homestuck, but I don't know. I really like Jade. Jade is one of my favorite characters. Again, she didn't really get much screen time compared to the other beta kids, but, like, very good. Her Grimbark moment, very cool. A lot of good stuff there. Let's see now. Well, now Vriska, we know, is going in S tier. Like, again, this is another one where everyone's going to be like, JoJo, come on, that's too obvious. Vriska in S tier, come the fuck on. I really think she deserves it. Like I was saying, a very long piece of media like Homestuck allows for an incredible amount of character development. And in Vriska's case, we get two versions of the same character that I think were executed pretty good. Somewhat tragically in, parenthesis Vriska's case. Along with Vriska, another character to get a really cool arc is Aradia. Aradia, like, she is probably the single character who undergoes the most change from beginning to end. Like, she starts as a bubbly girl, then a dead, kind of depressed girl, then a robot who's also depressed but also pissed off, and then she goes God tier, and then she becomes a psychopomp. It's all this stuff. Aradia goes a lot of places. Very underrated. She gets a lot of screen time, but I don't see much fan content of her. Let's see here. Oh, now here's a controversial pick. Equius, pretty good. Now I'm going to have to justify myself here. Equius, A lot of people don't like Equius. A lot of people kind of see him as a creep. A lot of people see him as a sweaty weirdo. And, you know, that is kind of intentionally what he is supposed to be. But, and this is a deep cut, I think he is actually worth examining in terms of his relationship to Nepeta and his relationship to, later on, Arceus Sprite. Because Arceus Sprite is one of those, like, out of left field things that Homestuck does that kind of screws with the reader a little bit. But I think that in Arceus's case, it really gets pulled off. Because you see Hal and Equius, these two very troubled beings in Homestuck, they finally come together and they reach this sort of consensus. They become more interesting. And I think that shows a lot of potential for Equius to have a lot of character growth. So yeah, Equius, very underappreciated character in Homestuck. I think that, like, this comes with a caveat. Like, in Homestuck, he didn't really have much time to shine, but I think he does have a lot of potential that people really, really sleep on. Let's go here. Tavros, come on, people. S tier, obviously. Tavros as a character is, like, with many of the trolls, I'm going to say this, underutilized, but also had a lot of potential. In Tavros's case, I think that he reminds me a lot of Vash the Stampede from Trigun. And that, again, that's kind of a strange deep cut, but he is a very sweet and kind person on a very cruel world. And I think that that is worth pointing out. He's the only character who unabashedly just believes in kindness. I like that. Like, in a story like Homestuck especially, that's so irony poisoned and sometimes cruel, the idea of Tavros, this guy who is just like, I want to be nice to others, that just seems cool to me. Oh, here's a character right here. Nepeta. Another troll, underutilized. Everyone fucking loves Nepeta. I made a whole video about it a couple years back. Like, come on. It's Nepeta, people. It's Nepeta. You love her. She's Nepeta. I don't even need to say anything else here. It's Nepeta. She's a cat girl who lives in a cave, who kills and eats things, who's autistic. We love it. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's see now. I've stayed away from the kids a little bit. Let's see. Jane, I'm going to have to say S tier. Again, the epilogues kind of changed Jane in a couple of unfortunate ways. But frankly, I think that Jane could have been a good villain if they had a little more time, or if they made a little more of HS2 or something. But in HS1, Jane represents the sort of protagonist of the alphas, and she's kind of a foil to John, but she's also her own character. And through her, we kind of see how she victimizes others, like Jake and Roxy, pardon me, but she's also victimized herself by Caliborn, by those around her, and it just creates this vicious cycle of hatred that she ultimately kind of breaks free from. And she, again, I wish we got to see more of this in the comic, but it really seems like she said, no, I don't want to be fucking part of this anymore. I don't want to have any more shitty birthday parties. I don't want to dump on my friends anymore. I want to, you know, I want to like life. Which brings me to Roxy. Come on, you know it's S tier with Roxy Lalonde. Roxy Lalonde is probably, next to Dave, the most beloved Homestuck character. And unlike Dave, I think it is completely 100% earned, especially in the modern day. A lot of people don't remember this, but in the Tumblr days, back when Homestuck was still updating, Roxy got a lot of flack for being a drunk. And by flack, I don't mean like people criticized her. I mean like people would portray her as like a funny drunk caricature. And that wasn't really cool. A lot of people criticized it at the time. Like, it's not funny that this girl like makes typos because she's such a fucking drunk at the age of 13. That's very dark. And I think that her portrayals in the fandom in the modern day show that she's kind of shrugged that off, which feels great. She's very beloved as like a trans icon for both trans men and women. because of the whole like XY chromosomal thing in Homestuck, kind of sparking a lot of trans headcanons, as well as HS2 for being positive with representation there. I don't know. Roxy, very good. A lot to chew on. A lot of fun stuff. We love a Roxy. Like Nepeta, like, yeah, I don't need to explain why Roxy's cool. Another character that I don't need to explain the coolness of is Solix. Now, Solix strikes me as, like, this guy who was supposed to be kind of... I'll put him next to Dave. He was supposed to be kind of Dave's friend. Or not Dave's friend. What the fuck am I saying? He's supposed to be Dave's foil. He could be Dave's friend. Who am I to judge? Because he also wears sunglasses. He also has this cool guy persona. But he, unlike Dave, is more, like, earnest. And he's more open with his emotions. His emotions being, like, usually just furious anger. But he is, he's a good guy. He's a cool guy. I think that he's unique because he sees the narrative of Homestuck and he goes, I don't want to be a part of this. And he actively fucks off at more than one point in the comic. And he says, no, I don't want to participate in Homestuck. He gets out of there. He gets out of there. We love that. Let's see now. Dirk, very cool. Now, I've given Dirk a lot of shit over the years. I've made him say a lot of bullshit because I have a good Dirk voice, because some people don't know this. I don't know if I should... I don't know if I should admit this, but I used to be part of a certain Tumblr voice community in maybe like 2015. And I used to voice Dirk and Bro, and that's where I made my Dirk voice pretty good. But I've made him say some bullshit. But I think that most of the reason why I want to squish him so bad is because of his Homestuck 2 characterization. But we're not going to talk about that here. Dirk in Homestuck is one of the most tragic and sad characters. But I think at the end of the comic, he kind of gets a redemption moment with Dave. And their whole relationship and the Strider Misery Circle is just wonderful. Just very easy to... It's not only tragic, but it's also uplifting, and it's also very easy to digest, unlike a lot of other family bullshit. Which is, to me, astonishing, because, like, Homestuck's family trees are so utterly convoluted. Like, it's kind of like a brother-brother story between Dave and Dirk, but it's also a parental story between Dave and Dirk. But it's kind of like a mutually parental story because they were each other's dads. And yet, in spite of that, like, utterly confusing and batshit insane bullshit, like, it works. It's a good... It's nice. It's pleasant. Alright, who's next? Kanaya. Come on. Kanaya. Kanaya. It's Kanaya. What do I need to say? Rose's wife? Cool chainsaw? Lipstick? I think that... what's the word? What's a word I could use for... Boss bitch? That's a good word. Girl boss. She's amazing. She's fantastic. I would do anything for her. I love her so much. Just any, you know, what? She's great. We love Kanaya. Next, we have Jake. Jake is another one of those alpha characters who is very crunchy, very easy to sink your teeth into. I think that he's a fascinating character for many reasons, but the main reason he's so fascinating to me is because you can't really tell how much of a weenie he actually is, right? How much is he playing up his facade? And it's kind of tough to tell. With Dave, you can tell very clearly this guy has a facade. This guy has, like, this is his thing. But with Jake, it's kind of like, all right, how much is his cool guy persona, this sort of Indiana Jones thing, how much does that mean to him, really? I don't know. Do you? I don't. You can write about it. You can think about it. All right, we got only 4 left. Gamzee, this is another controversial one. Now, where's Gamzee gonna go? A, B, C, D, or S? I think I'm gonna have to put Gamzee in S rank here because A lot of people dislike Gamzee because they don't really see past his clownish murderiness. But what they don't really understand about Gamzee is how much tragedy is underneath all of that bullshit. Because how many times have you felt like you just want to burn all of it down, right? Maybe it was a time at school when your emotions weren't in check yet. Maybe it was a time later in your life when things weren't going bad. But everyone has had this sense of like, I just want to quit. I want to stop. I want to hit people around me. I want to hurt others. And Gamzee is a perfect encapsulation of that because things never go his way. He is a very like tragic, horrible character, and he can only really express himself through being used by the narrative, right? And that sucks. That sucks for him. But it also opens the door to a lot of interesting and tragic characterization, which I really like. So anyway. All right. Next one, Therese. Where to put Therese? How about S tier for Therese? Yeah, I think that fits. So Therese is basically, like, pretty much the most underrated character. I'm not going to say she has a lot of screen time. She is very instrumental to many of the events in Homestuck, and yet people don't really access her in the fandom the same way they do like Vriska or Dave or even someone like Aradia or Nepeta. And I don't really know why. It could be the quirk is a little hard to read, but Therese has what I call, I had a word for this. It was something swag. She has like dirtbag swag, right? She has the same swag as like Jimmy McGill, not in small part because they are both lawyers. But she's kind of like the love child of Kim Wexler and Jimmy McGill, who like went blind and got raised by like, I don't even know, wolves in the forest or something. She's like if Chuck McGill and Kim Wexler like had a baby, but that baby was raised on dragonology books. And we love that for her. She's just a dirty girl who loves crimes, solving them, perpetrating them. She loves to lick. That's great. She's got some cool glasses. Cool glasses are a very good theme in Homestuck. All right, we're down to 2 characters. Now, Pfeffery. We're going to put Pfeffery. I think Pfeffery goes probably an S tier. Pfeffery, she made the dream bubbles, which is a very cool accomplishment. She was instrumental to that. Much like Solix, I think she wisely said, I'm not going to participate in this story anymore. Like, I don't have a place in it. I'm just going to make the afterlife, and then you guys can go fuck off. I think she has a lot of potential, right? She's one of those characters that really makes you think about her stuff, because it's like, you know, she had a mom who was an eldritch abomination, and yet she turned out very bubbly and cool, which I think is a cool contrast to have. I think that Homestuck in general is very skeptical of, of cosmic horror. It kind of treats its dream bubbles and all that stuff as like kind of whimsical and fun. And I like that. Pfeffery kind of encapsulates a certain spirit of Homestuck in that way. A very bubbly and cool thing. All right. All right. And that's it. That's the whole roster of characters. That is every single character in Homestuck. I think this is a pretty good tier list. I think that, you know, as tier lists go, this is one of the best ones. You know, tier lists are kind of cheap content to make. I think that in many ways that a tier list is like, it's not the best way to explain how characters work. At the end of the day, a tier list is not like gonna tell you everything you need to know about your characters, but I think that I don't know. I think it's fun to make one if you're going to actually explain your process. So yeah, this is the actual final tier list. I think it looks pretty good. You know, you might not like all of the selections I made, but there you go. Enjoy.